On the heels of the Hall of Faith chapter, Hebrews chapter 11, the very next verse, Hebrews chapter 12, beginning with verse 1, tells us this. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. And then we get this encouragement to focus our attention at the best example of faith and endurance. Looking unto Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. We could spend days on these two verses, but today I just want to tell you a story. It's a story about a race that I was in, because a race is a very common metaphor for the Christian life. It involved a friend, Glenn, a decades-long friend, and when we were much younger, we got into a cycle of challenging each other to various races or some sort of sporting dare or whatever. And this included stupid long bike rides, and it included other things such as swimming in glacier-fed lakes out to a certain point and back, and mountain climbing. We climbed a couple mountains together, and then running races in 100-degree heat. Just again, the things you do in your 20s that you don't do in your 60s. Well, one of the times I challenged Glenn, lives in Canada. They were coming down, and I said, "Hey, I've signed us up for a triathlon." Now, either of us had ever done a triathlon. Signed us up for the Leaning Tower Triathlon, which was the key thing to know is that the swim was a 1/4 mile long, and it was in a pool. And we did this, and Glenn beat me. And then he signed us up for an Olympic triathlon in Canada with a mile-long swim in a lake. Now, here's the key thing. If you've not done any triathlons, here's the key thing to understand. If you can't swim a 1/4 mile and you're in a pool, you just walk on the bottom, right? You're not very fast, but you can do it. You're not gonna drown. If you're in a mile-long swim in a lake, then you have to be able to swim a mile. So this was a big challenge. I really trained. And in fact, the good news is obviously I'm here. I survived the swim, and better than that, more important than not drowning in the swim, was that I beat Glenn in this triathlon. But there's a video of the race, and there's also a time record of the race. And what the video of the race shows, two embarrassing things here. One is the race, and this was not a big race in Canada. We all started at the same time. I don't know, 100, 150 of us. I'm the last one to put their head in the water, right? I am like bobbing along, going out as far out as I can go, walking on the bottom, before I finally put my head down and begin to swim. But secondly, I had a 12-minute transition between the swim and the run. This was a weird triathlon. Actually, it went swim, run, bike because of some hills. Mostly they go swim, bike, run. But it took me 12 minutes between the time I finished swimming and the time I started running. Now, a good triathlete would make that transition in something like, 12 seconds. But again, there's video of me sitting down, high-fiving a bunch of people. It took me a long time to get out of my wetsuit. I called Sherry to celebrate that I hadn't drowned. Here's the deal. I forgot that I was in a race. I forgot that I was in a race. And I suspect that that is a very apt metaphor for many Christians. The Christian life is described in a variety of settings as a race. And we are told that we are to run with endurance the race that's been set before us. We are told to, Paul writes, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on towards the goal for the prize of the higher calling of God in Christ Jesus. That's clearly a metaphor for a race. In his last letter to Timothy, Paul writes and he says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And so there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me. So I just want to say here, this letter to the Hebrews, full of encouragement, full of challenge. One of the challenges is you're in a race. I'm in a race. We are expected to throw off everything that slows us down, the sin that so easily ensnares us and holds us back. And we're to press on, following the example of Jesus Christ, who ran his race, following the example of Paul, who finished the race. You are in a race. I hope that you're aware of that, and I hope your race is going well. Have a good day.